The only people giving a platform to these hate groups is the media itself and the fake news.
United States or elsewhere, journalism is never easy. But when a sitting president targets journalists, matters can get worse. That's exactly what happened to Capital Gazette when 5 of its journalists were shot and killed by an angry male. Also, Trump's Twitter feed and talking reporters down doesn't help journalism or journalists.
No, I'm not going to give you a question. I'm not going to give you a question. You are fake news.
Kevin Hall is investigative journalist with McClatchy, D.C. He says Trump administration cannot be held entirely responsible for the sliding freedom of the press, but it has definitely made the situation difficult for working journalists.
We're in a point where I think people are thinking about things they've never had to think about before. Personal safety you used to think about if you were a war correspondent. It's something you now have to think about if you're covering a political rally. It's something you have to think about if you're doing man-on-the-street interviews. There's a lot of hostility when you stop and just say, I'm a reporter with McClatchy, I'd like to talk to you about X. People used to be fairly happy to talk to a reporter.
VOA's Jim Malone has been reporting on U.S. politics for a long time and has seen many administrations come and go.
I think you could say that in the case of President Trump, there's been a certain exacerbation of the situation. He used attacks on the media as part of his campaign in 2016. But I think it really predates Donald Trump. The issues we're seeing with trust, verifiability in the media, whether the media is accurate or biased, these issues have actually been on the rise for actually a few decades now.
CPJ's Courtney Radsch cautions against the targeted use of anti-state laws and blames Trump's reckless use of Twitter for attacks on the press.
The continuing violence against journalists at protests and at campaign events, and the ongoing anti-press inflammatory rhetoric that singles out individual reporters and media outlets for criticism through the president's Twitter feed, denials of access to official events, to the White House. It's a very concerning situation here in the United States.
Today, the bigger concern is that the press in the United States is under siege from the very quarters whose job is to be the guardians of democratic freedoms and liberties. Journalist organizations agree that in times like these, it's all the more important to be objective and impartial while covering issues of national significance. Aman Azhar, Voice of America, Washington.